and welcome back to Talking Salford, the podcast where we bring one or two of our most celebrated and interesting alumni back to campus to talk about their memories of their time here and to find out about the amazing things they've gone on to do since graduating. My name is Lachlan Campbell, and I'll be today's host for this episode, which is being recorded and filmed here on our Peel Park campus in the New Adelphi building. If you want to watch this episode in full, you can head to the University of Salford's YouTube channel to see us in crisp quality. But let's get started and welcome today's guest, which I'm delighted to say is Matt Woodburn.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Matt. Cheers for very much for coming down.
That's all right.
So a little bit about Matt's story then. So he started at Salford as a big rock music fan back in 2014, doing BA popular music and recording. Here, he became exposed to more other kind of genres such as hyperpop, rap and electronic music, and started doing some online collaborations with other artists on SoundCloud. Matt featured in the Levi's Music Project in 2017, where he met other like-minded artists in the area, and then returned to Salford to do a Masters in Music Production in 2018. After graduating, Matt moved into a flat in Manchester and started making music whilst also working part-time as a drum teacher at one of his old schools. Over this time, he grew close to and started collaborating with a number of upcoming artists in the scene, such as Deju VHS, Blazer Buckle, Nina Cobham. In 2021, Matt started renting a space in Chapel Street just down the road to use it as a studio, and last year he signed his first publishing deal with Bigger Picture Entertainment, which is co-owned by the producer, Digital DJ Farm Animals. And also over the last few years, he's been on tour with the pop band's New Hope Club as their touring drummer, really, which has now gone across the world, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, first things first, I understand you've just come back from Seoul.
Yeah, and Tokyo. I did a couple of days in Tokyo and then Seoul. Yeah.
What was that like?
Crazy. Yeah, insane. I've never been to Asia before, like at all, so yeah, it was pretty wild.
And you've been filming music videos as well, whilst also touring?
Yeah, so it was actually only like 2 gigs. We did like a gig in Tokyo, and then we did a gig in Seoul, and during that time, we filmed a music video on the top of a helipad in Seoul with New Hope Club and a K-pop band called P1 Harmony as like a promotional video, which was terrifying.
You don't like heights?
Not at all, no. Especially not when you're like 35 stories up, and it's just like horrible. It was like literally like the scariest thing I've ever done.
How did you get up onto the helipad to begin with?
So there was like there was a lift, thankfully, which took us up to like the 32nd floor, and then you had to walk like 3 flights of stairs. And then it like just takes you out, and you're just like walking up these steps, and as you arrive, there's like no handrails. You just walk up, and it's just like the helipad. And yeah.
How long were you up there for?
Like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, it was pretty mental. Like they we didn't really get told until like 2 days beforehand, so like no one prepared us for it. Apparently the K-pop group had been asked like if they were afraid of heights and everything, so they got checked in on, and like
not you guys.
yeah, not us. We just had to like roll with it. I woke up the next morning and was just like in absolute my muscles were in agony because I think I was just so tense the entire time.
I can imagine.
But it was like crazy experience. Yeah, crazy experience there.
I think touring worldwide must be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
But I want to start with your origin story. So how does it feel, first of all, to be back on campus?
Weird. Yeah,
Yeah?
it's weird. It's good though. Like it's I have a lot of like gratitude towards like this place and like the time that I spent here. And I've got a lot of good memories from being here. But I think it's just weird being back in a space but not recognizing like any of the people, or like recognizing very few people.
Yeah, because all the people that you knew are here have moved on, apart from, I guess, a lot of the lecturers.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to study music at Salford?
I think I knew a couple of people who had already been at Salford, who'd gone to my college and then gone on to Salford. So I already knew about that being like quite a good like performance course.
Yeah.
And at the time I really wanted to get into performance, and I think the other aspect of it was that it was close enough to home that I could still go back, and because I had a band at the time that was like back home, and yeah, it was just like close enough, and it was like, don't know, like it just had the right kind of vibe in comparison to everything else. I think I tried other universities, and they either felt a little bit too unserious,
Okay.
maybe, and then on the other hand, there was some that were like way too strict and like they wanted you to be like a certain way.
Okay.
Whereas I feel like when I came here, it was like very much an accepting feeling of like, this is like, you can do kind of like what you want in time, like what you're interested in, at least for this course. So that's how I felt. Yeah. So that's kind of why I picked this place.
And you were into rock when you arrived. How quickly did your sound change once you got here?
I say it probably didn't change for like maybe like until I was like maybe like third year or like second year. I kind of like started dabbling a little bit. But I always was still like into rock music and was still trying to play as much rock music as I could. I think I just pivoted into like producing and like maybe like electronic music and working on music on my own, just out of like a necessity to create and just wanting to create on my own terms, as opposed to like waiting for like 3 to 4 other like people to pull the fingers out and just like do something.
So because it was is it because electronic music can be a bit more individualistic? You have more freedom and more creative control if you're not kind of waiting on other people to record or to play music with. It's you own the creative process a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you can essentially create like whole songs on your laptop, and that was really exciting. And also like there's no like limit onto the sounds that you can make with it, so you can kind of do anything. And especially like I just also like tinkering about with stuff on my own, and I feel very confident in my like creative choices a lot of the time. So I like working on my own because it allows me to not have to like explain myself to other people while I'm in that process.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to hear like a finished product and go like, yeah, that's cool, but then like no one hears like the journey getting there and like all the like rubbish sounds and the tries and like the switch outs and stuff that you like end up making and like the changes that you decide while you're doing it. No one hears that. So.
You started making a lot of music and then put it on SoundCloud. What was it about that platform at that time that appealed to you to get your music out there?
It was just free. And also like at the time like it was kind of around, there was like a big boom in SoundCloud in like 2016, like with a lot of like SoundCloud, especially like in rap music. There was a lot of SoundCloud rap that came out in that around 2016, and so that was like a big platform for rappers and also producers, because there was a lot of like bootlegs that would go up on there and a lot of like remixes and edits and stuff. So it was like a good place to put music out and put music out like super easily, and there's like no wait time as well. So like with a distributor, for like Spotify or iTunes, like because they're digital stores, you have to like wait. So you have to like it's not like you upload it and it turns up straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like with SoundCloud, because it's like straight to platform, you can just upload it and then like 30 seconds later it's online.
It's there.
Yeah. So that was appealing.
So why did you come back to do a master's then?
The biggest answer is probably time.
Like
I needed time, I think, to like get back on my feet. I think because I finished uni and everything felt quite sudden. Like because for 3 years you're just working, and like you've kind of got your whole life set out and your routine set out, and you know that at the end of every semester you've got a hand in and you're working towards this big thing, and then all of a sudden it stops and you just like let go and let to see how and just face the world. And I don't think I was ready to. I was working at a bar and I wasn't ready to, like I didn't really want to jump into like other kind of work like that. I wanted to do music. Like I wanted to essentially like my next job to be music based or music related. So I was like, I looked at a master's and I figured that if I could do a master's, it would allow me more time to learn and more time to develop and get better at my craft, and it would give me more time to figure things out. And I think in some ways the master's is I mean, obviously it's way more difficult, but it also is a lot more spaced out. So I felt like a bit more like breathing room to create on my own time and on my own terms. So yeah, it gave me time, and it gave me the ability to like just be back in Manchester as well, because I had to move back home, and coming back to Salford like 3 times a week, 4 times a week meant that I could just still be like involved, and I wasn't just like gone back home, and then that I felt like that would have made things a lot more difficult if I was to ever try and if I had tried to move back at that time, than if I was already here and just like about and meeting people.
So shortly before you were about to leave Salford for the last time, I remember you had a conversation with one of your lecturers about your future and about the next steps you wanted to do. Do you remember a lot about that conversation?
Yeah, it's clear as day. I still remember it now. Like I think about it quite often. And basically, it kind of got to the end of my masters, and it felt like I think there was a point in my time when I was trying to do the same thing I did at the end of my undergrad, which I was like trying to get more time.
Yeah.
And I think it mostly comes out of fear, and just like fear of the unknown, and just taking the jump. And so I was kind of like ready to go into a PhD, and like, you know, I'm the type of person that like doesn't like change. So I'm like very like, so I tried to stay behind, and like do my PhD and like spend more time trying to develop my craft, and maybe go into lecturing. And he basically told me to like not do that, and to like go and experience the world for a bit and try and actually make it. Because that's what I wanted to do, really. Like, I really wanted to go out and make it and, like, be a big producer and work with loads of artists. And I think he felt like if I didn't try and do that fully, wholeheartedly, then it wouldn't happen, or I would, like, regret it, and I just wouldn't have the time. Because I think in my brain, I figured that it would, for some reason, be easy. But, like, obviously, PhDs are even more difficult than masters, and lecturing is like difficult as well, so like I don't think I would have I think he was completely right. And so he basically pushed me to just like he told me to get a bar job, which was the last answer I wanted to hear, because the year before I'd said I don't want anything else like this, I just want to do music. And then I think a couple months later I just got asked to teach drums, and then said yes to that. It was kind of like a sign from the universe of like, oh, maybe this is like the universe, like, you know, trying to get me to actually go for it and take his advice. So
because it's such an uncertain time, I think, whenever a student is about to leave uni, because you're right, there's a safety blanket the university provides, and particularly in the music industry, it's a big thing to jump into, and it requires a lot of hard work and effort to make your name and to build a reputation for yourself. I think it's such a great thing that you had that conversation with your lecturer that gave you that extra oomph to think, you know what, I can try and do this and make it happen. Talk to me a little bit then, once you did then graduate, how you started making a name for yourself in music. What were the steps that you took?
I think mostly it was just about going out and meeting people and just being nice and just saying yes to opportunities. There's not like a secret formula, I don't think. I think it was just a case of me going out to gigs, going out to like networking events, going like basically like messaging people on Instagram, trying to find like artists or singers that either didn't have any music out or didn't have a lot of music out, and just like try and start working with them. And you'd be surprised at how tight knit everything is and how close like a lot of creative people are. So if you get on with someone and impress one person, you're more than likely gonna get on with like their friends that also create, and then those people, and then there's always people like watching other people's stuff going, oh, I want a bit of that, and I want to work on this, and that sounds really cool, like I want to make music like that, and like before you know it, you're just meeting people like left and right. And that's how I did it on like a local scale, was essentially like just reaching out to people and just saying yes, and just doing even sessions that looking back, I didn't really want to do. I didn't really like really that much, but it felt like it was like important part of like the process, not only to learn how to make different kinds of music and how to like be in a studio setting with people that weren't like identical to me and totally like on my wavelength, but also it just felt like what I needed to do to like just get out there and prove to people that I wasn't just like, I couldn't just do one thing. I could do like multiple like different things. And
Because you built a studio within the flats that you were in over that time.
yeah, I don't know whether I'd say built, but I had like speakers and a laptop in my room. But yeah, I used to work out my like my flats, and I used to live with. I tried to make an effort to live with people that were also musicians, so they kind of understood the
creative
creative
process
process
that it
and,
just
like-
happens at all times of day and night, really.
Yeah, obviously, you know, you've got to be respectful and like, you know, have an agreement with people, and which was no problem. But yeah, that's kind of what we ended up. That's what I ended up doing.
What is the track that, if you can look back on that process, that clicked and started to think, I'm starting to really try and define my sound here?
I guess it was probably when I started working with my friend Dej, Deja VHS. He basically, we worked together in London one time. It was like my first ever London trip. I think it was potentially my first ever London session.
Okay.
And he was making like kind of hip hop mixed with like rock. He was just shouting on like rap beats and
Okay.
stuff. And I just thought it was really cool, and he wasn't very big. And we got into studio session together, and then like really clicked. And then like I think like a month later, he came up to Manchester and spent like a week with me. Instead of like, we didn't know each other at all. We met one time, and he stayed at my sofa for like 4 days, and then like we just made a load of stuff. And then in that process we made a mixtape called Hood Punk Forever, or Forever Hood Punk. I can't remember which one it is, but like we made a thing that was just essentially like guitars, different kind of like rap beats, Afro beats, like drill, like, and just like try to throw a load of stuff together. And I think that was the first time it was like my own music that like reflected all the influences that I'd had, not just from like that time, but like from when I was like a kid playing in bands and stuff.
I've got you.
Yeah, it was the first time that I picked up a guitar again since uni, so I think it was like that was interesting.
Why did you pick up the guitar up?
I was just inspired to. I think like I stopped playing guitar for a while because I think I was really like, I don't know, at the time I didn't feel like it was, I felt like I wasn't like a good enough guitar player to really just be a guitar player, so I kind of like gave up and was just, well, I'm just going to produce. And then I just like, I don't know, like he was trying to do a lot of guitar stuff, and so therefore I was like, well, I can play guitar, let's have a go at some stuff. And then and also like there was like, I wasn't finding samples that felt right, so I was like, oh, I've got to create my own thing now. I can't just rely on like the internet to give me like guitar samples. Let me just like see what I can make and make the actual stuff that I want to put on these beats.
How hard is it to find a sound when you're making music that feels distinctively your own?
There's two answers, I think. I mean, in some ways it is difficult because how do you really, it's hard to define, because like I think everyone sees it as like you define your sound by being like completely unique to everything else, which is just like impossible, because we're all using like the same samples, we're all using the same sounds, we're all listening to the same music essentially, and there's a certain like standard that the music industry's at and what we want to listen to. So it's like pretty difficult to make something completely unique. And even if you do, you're going to find that people will probably end up copying you and trying to do that thing. So I think it's just, I guess the answer is, it's kind of easy if you just make a lot of music, because you'll automatically just find like what you're good at and what you enjoy, and if you keep challenging yourself, you'll find different creative ways to do things. And I don't think it's necessarily how it sounds or what you're making. I don't think it's necessarily like finding a sound is like making the craziest music imaginable that no one else could make. I think it's just like it's like the music comes out based on like how your brain works. It's like if that makes sense, like
Yeah,
you're kind of making ideas with like only you're the only person that's got your brain, so you're the only person that's going to be able to make the music that you make.
I see.
And you'll find there's a pattern in that process, and that's your sound. It's the pattern that you make.
Now, you kind of developed and, I guess, defined your sound, whilst a lot of us were bunkered up in lockdown.
Yeah.
So, as a musician, working... Did it aid the creative process that you had so much time in it you couldn't go anywhere? Or was it one of those things where it just became so much and everything you wrote or talked about, because there was so much negativity going around in it, because it was a global pandemic, did that seep into what you were writing?
Yeah, I mean, like, to be truthful, like when the lockdown first hit, I almost gave up music. I almost gave up producing because it was just becoming like too much. It was just like, don't know, didn't feel like there was an end to it. But I think with that, like wanting to give up, there was like a reboot of like energy and motivation when it did kick back in. And I think I was inspired by people around me that were also having that same kind of motivation.
Yeah.
And I think there was definitely a universal thing where people were like, well, life's too short, so let's do what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like music since then has become more interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like I've not really like thought about that like at all up until now, but I actually think that music since the pandemic has become a lot more like exciting in a lot of ways. There's a lot more like the mainstream. There's no rules anymore, like really nothing. If you listen to like the charts, there's not a lot of like there's stuff that's like similar together, but then you've got like before the pandemic, I don't think that an artist like Pink Panther should have gotten as big.
Okay.
For example.
Yeah. You think it's changed the scene forever, really? Well, not forever, but just we've moved into a new generation since.
Yeah, I mean, like even just on a technical level, like people started doing Zoom sessions, which has completely changed the game, because now there's all these artists and producers that are working with each other, like overseas, and are doing sessions on video calls. And
I see.
Yeah, that's like completely changed it. So now you're getting influences from all around the globe and people doing like stuff from everywhere. And I think like Zoom sessions have kind of been a thing before that, but they really became a big thing, like recent since the pandemic because of that.
So it's so much easier for, say, if you're working with a producer or an artist in Australia, you can make that happen now when before it wouldn't have been so simple.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And no, I hadn't really thought about that. That's fascinating. I think so. Working in music comes with its own pressures. You got to write the next big hit. You got to make a living through it somehow. And there's so much competition that goes on there in terms of trying to uncover the next new sound, the next new artist. How have you coped with those pressures?
I think it's just about accepting that no one's got the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to a lot of different people because I've struggled with that, about like putting like a big pressure on like, you know, like having like a hit and like a mega smash and having something that goes like crazy. But the truth is that no one really knows what can happen, because there's artists out there that have got all the budget in the world that for some reason just don't land, and the music's great but people are not resonating with it. And there's some people who literally just pick up a microphone in their bedroom and go on TikTok, and then all of a sudden they're like the biggest artist in the world. So there's no way of like really knowing. And I think accepting that like you're just a human being, and actually your purpose on this earth is not to make a mega smash hit. It's just to like enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, like I'd love that. That would make me happy to have a big hit, but it wouldn't also like make me happy forever. And that's like accepting that even if you got that, it's not gonna solve like all your worries, and it's not gonna. You're never gonna fully get. You're always gonna have problems, and you're always gonna have like difficulties to face and stuff. And it's just accepting that actually like the journey's just as important, if not more important, because a lot of the time, even when you're releasing music and songs come out, they're coming out 6 months after you've done them, a year after you've done them, 2 years. Like some songs that have been made, where the beat's been made 5 years before it reached the artist. And so at that point, it's like the release date's almost like not even that important. It's like the important part was the journey and how it got created and how it ended up in someone's hands, and that's the exciting bit. So yeah, it's just like being grateful for the journey and like the experiences that you make.
What's the most enjoyable part of writing a song? So what I mean by that is, are you someone that loves songwriting? Are you someone that loves getting in the studio, working with an artist? Or are you someone that loves just seeing it out there and hearing it in full for the first time?
I love making music, I think. It's really nice when like you hear your song somewhere, or like people play it, or you see that it resonates. Or like I've been grateful enough to be able to see a lot of my music live, like performed live by the artists that I work with over the past year, and that's been really cool. But the most exciting bit's like making the song. It's like seeing it from its very first like idea in its purest form, and then seeing how it ends up, and that in that moment at the very beginning there was an infinite amount of possibilities of what could have happened with that idea, and it just so happened to be this song, and that's the most fun bit, because most of the time like you're just making music with your friends or people that are like similar to you and care about the same way about music. So yeah, I think creating music's like more fun for me.
Well, what does it start with? Is it like a certain instrument that you always start with? Is it a line from a song that's kind of just in your head? Or like what, at its basis form, what gets your creative juices flowing basically?
I don't have like an actual like full answer for this, but it's just hearing something that like that inspires me. So it could be like a guitar part or some chords, or it could be like even just like a sound, and a second I play a note, you just hear like where it could go. It could be like you're making something, or you've got a beat, and then someone hums a melody, and then you're inspired by that. So it's like it could be literally anything.
Yeah.
I try not to start the same way every time, because I feel like if I do that, I'll just make the same song.
Same thing.
Yeah, so I try and like keep it varied, and I'm always trying to find like different ways of doing something, just to see what I can come out with. So yeah.
Interesting. Now, one thing I mentioned before we start recording, but I'm quite keen to hear your thoughts on. I'm fascinated by the way music is shared and distributed these days, and particularly TikTok. I think it's changing the way the industry sells itself, I think, mainly. And what I call is the TikTokification of music. Now, that's my own word, but I'm inventing it here.
Yeah.
So as a producer, when you're in the studio, when you're talking to an artist, do you think that now factors in when you're recording? So, for example, there is some kind of voice or some part of that process that says, do we have a short section on this song that is going to be shareable for this song, where people hear a snippet and that's going to get the buzz going around this song?
I think there's artists and there's songwriters and stuff that definitely have that in mind when they're writing music.
Yeah.
I try not to have that in mind, and because I find that if you just let things happen, when you reflect on it, you go, oh, that bit could be really cool for like to post on TikTok.
Yeah.
Instead of going in, I think it's always better to just make what you would normally make and make what's authentic to you, and then go back and go, oh, could this work, or how could this work, or whatever, instead of making music for that. Because I think if you make music for a platform, it's forever just going to be for that platform. And I don't think at that point, you're limiting yourself from making timeless music. Like, whereas if you're just making the music that's authentic to you, it transcends platforms. It transcends like TikTok, it transcends Instagram, it transcends all this stuff. It's just the stuff that is authentic to you, and no one can take that away from you. And in like weird turns of events, like I've made a lot of different music, and some songs I've made which have had the intention of being more mainstream than others, and for some weird reason, when the artists I work with post the weird songs on TikTok, that are like no song form, no chorus, like just weird, they're the ones for some reason that get like crazy numbers.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. And then like it begs the question. It really begs the question of like what actually works on TikTok, and the answer is like you don't really know. So it's best to just make the music that you want to make, post the songs that you like, and post the ideas that you like, and more time that's going to be the stuff that resonates with people. Because if you love it, then someone else out there is going to love it. But if you're just doing it just for TikTok and you're not really that bothered and you're just doing it to get a quick buck, then it'll never work. So people can just see through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no logic to some of it, as you say. Like some old songs that have been released a couple of years ago, they just end up getting shared, and it's like it's a trending song or it's a trending music, and there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. It just happens.
Yeah.
And do you think the music industry fully understands how to use this app, or do they just think it's, you know what, we'll just throw it out there and see what happens?
No, I don't think anyone does. I think the people who do know how to use it are the kids that use it every day.
Yeah.
I think there's like this like thing at the minute, like because TikTok is so powerful for like the music industry, I think there's like a load of artists that for some reason are like, I hate TikTok, and they begrudgingly use it because they're like, well, I guess I've got to if I want to make music and if I want to release music, and like there's a lot of labels that won't sign people unless they've got like a TikTok following.
Wow.
Yeah, so like, but it's not because, from my perspective, it's not because like those artists are bad or they've not got streams or whatever. I think it's just because like labels want to know that you're moving with the times and you're prepared to move with the times. Because people think like, oh, Instagram's like normal now, but like 10 years ago or whatever, like everyone was like, I'm not going to Instagram. Like I've got Facebook, why would I need Instagram? And it was the same exact thing. And it was the same thing with Vine, and it's the same thing with TikTok, and after TikTok there's going to be another thing
else, yeah.
And you've just got to be prepared to just go with the flow and just accept that like it just is what it is. And I think people underestimate the fact that we've been given this incredible tool to market and advertise our music in no way that we've been able in no way that we've been able to do it before. I don't know if that sentence made sense. But we can now like do all the marketing that you would have to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds doing on like any other platform.
Yeah.
But for now with TikTok it's all free and it's all organic, and yeah, it's like annoying. Like, you know, we want to all make music, but unfortunately like
you can't avoid it.
Yeah, and even Frank Ocean has like marketing budgets and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we've all got to like we've all got to like market our music, and TikTok's like free, and I've seen careers be made out of it like countless times, and it's like, so for me I think it's incredible. Like I think it's like the best thing that's happened, but I understand why people don't like it. But
I think that's so interesting that there's as you say, there is like a distinction in the industry of people that either embrace it, as you say, or they just don't like what it's doing. So no, I think that's fascinating. So let's talk about your other main job. Well, not main job, I guess, another job that you've been doing, which is as a touring drummer for New Hope Club.
Yeah.
So that just happened when they asked for a drummer and you were available at the time, and now you've just stuck around, really, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just literally been like going like with them for the past like 2 years, and it's like, yeah,
seeing the world.
Yeah, and we've got like we're doing the Busted tour later this year as well.
That's cool.
Which is pretty crazy. Yeah. It's just like everything's happening like with those guys. So yeah, it was just like saying yes to opportunities and just being down to do it, and just like, yeah, because why not? That was kind of the whole ethos behind it.
Do you write your own songs when you're on tour with them? Do you keep that creative juices flowing?
Yeah, I try to. So like, there's a lot. You kind of have quite a lot of downtime in between, like days and stuff, and like, you know, especially like we did an America tour last year, and I would for some reason wake up at like 7 a.m. every day, so I would like use that time to work. So yeah, you have a lot of time to work, but in like a weird way as well. So with doing the Asia tour with those lot, I then stayed for like 2 weeks and did a load of K-pop sessions for like 2 weeks, just because I was already there, and it was a good opportunity, and it was like, kind of, why not? There's not a lot of times that you're gonna just be in like a country all across the world, like doing that and meeting and able to meet those kinds of people. So it was like, yeah, it's just like, it's also given me opportunities that I wouldn't otherwise get if I was just a producer.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to get into rooms with people, just based off like the relationship I have with those guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah.
So what do you want to be remembered as a musician producer? If you could write your legacy, what would it say?
I guess someone who just like pushed the boundaries, and tried to like push the envelope for new like sounds, and just like a new way of approaching of music. I don't necessarily want to be like the richest or the most famous or have the most amount of #1 plaques, although that would be lovely in the process. But I just want to be, I guess, remembered for just making music that was like unapologetically me, and not really worrying too much about like how other people are going to perceive it, and rather, because actually the music that is most me has been the stuff that's resonated with people the most, from what I can see. So I'm like, just like keep going on that train.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
So now we're going to do like a quick fire, I guess, of your Salford recommendations.
Yeah.
So I gave this to you at the start then. So
Yeah, I've got it on my phone ready. ready
let's
to go.
run through it. So first off, favourite music venue in the area?
My favourite like main one is like Yes, because that's where like a lot of the touring artists come, and I just think that's got the coolest vibe. But in terms of like local music, I think my favourite is either Gulliver's in Northern Quarter, or the Eagle, which is like round the corner. And it's just like in this weird little industrial estate, and it's just there hidden away. Like you wouldn't know about it unless you knew like the band that was playing there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. Best artist to come out of the area?
My favourite artist, like rapper, is a guy called Meeks. Love Meeks. He's amazing. Not from Salford, I don't think, but he's from Manchester. I just love his music. But actually, the best of all time is an artist I work with called Honeygloss.
Okay.
But they're like they're like gonna be on the rise, and they're gonna be massive one day. So that's the best. That's the real answer.
Well, there we go. I mean, it's great you got that in now, just before they become big.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's your secret place on campus? So I guess what I mean by that is, when you were a student in Salford, if you just wanted your own downtime, where would you go?
Downtime, it would be above the... So in the Adelphi cafeteria, there's like, if you go upstairs, there's like 3 tables.
Yeah.
That's where I would go every Monday morning at like 8 a.m. Me and my friends would go there and just work for like 4 hours, and just like we just get coffees, get breakfast, and then just work there and work on music, just like the 4 of us.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that was like because you were always guaranteed a place, and like it just tucked away, like you wouldn't be like seeing like loads of people there. It was just like a really great spot. But then to be social, I guess like the Pint Pot. Yeah, that was probably the downtime place.
I see.
Yeah.
So right, go on the last one then. So what should every Salford student do before they leave?
This is just because I think it's a rite of passage, but everyone needs to get drunk on a Thursday night and get really hungover, and then go to the masterclass on Friday at midday. It's a rite of passage, and you'll feel horrible doing it, but you need to do it at least once. Actually, a real answer would be to like go to as many gigs as you can, and just try and just like say yes to everything. Like say yes to things on campus, say yes to things like off campus. So just go and like experience it for the fullest, because you never know when you're gonna get like opportunities like you do at uni again. Like because the real world hits you kind of hard. But just say yes to stuff. I think everyone should do that, and just go out there and just embrace everything, the bad, the good, the ugly, all that.
Matt, now your professional name is Matu. So where can people catch the music that you've made or listen to it? Yeah.
My Instagram is @prodbymatu, and that's like I think all my socials. But Spotify, I've got a playlist called it just says produced by Matu.
Okay.
It's on my page, my Matu Spotify page as well. And that's got like every song that I've produced at least over the past 2 years, maybe even longer as well. But yeah, it's got like over 100 songs of stuff that I've made. So that's probably the best place to hear everything. But and it'll get updated like every time something releases. So
Fab.
Yeah, that's the place.
Thanks very much for coming down to speak to us today.
Amazing. Thank you very much for having me.
Your long walk from Chapel Street.
I know. Yeah, so long.
So close to here.
Yeah.
So that's it for today's pod. Listen, if you like what you've heard, make sure you check out all future episodes by subscribing to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time, goodbye.